In 1990 or maybe 91, I was a bridesmaid in a wedding, and the dresses were pastel colors. And I really thought that I looked really pale and washed out. So I got a self tanner. I think that was the first time that I used one of the new self tanners because there had been self tanners, but they made you pretty orange. This was like the latest and greatest, and it was supposed to be all that. And I put that on really thick night after night after night until I literally used the entire bottle. At the wedding, I was much, much, much darker than I normally am. I don't think it looked horribly fake, but what's funny is that the bridesmaids decided to do something fun for the bride and groom before they got back. The bride was a big fan of classic musicals. And so, since we all had matching dresses, we kind of put together like this song and dance act kind of a thing. And so there was video footage of the wedding and video footage of this song and dance thing. And at the wedding, I am 10 shades darker than I was for the song and dance because when you stop using the self tan, it just goes away like in a matter of days, like much, much faster than a traditional tan. And that is hilarious to me. Anytime that I saw that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so ridiculous." So we are talking about self-tan products. They've come a long way, baby. But do think I've got a couple of really interesting things. We're going to talk about how it was discovered, so to speak, and then a couple of tips because I know that it can be a real hassle when you get the extra dark patches on your knees or your elbows, and I've got a few thoughts on that. So stick with me. We are going to talk about how to get the perfect summer tan. This is really the only healthy tan, and that is with a self tanner. I'm Michelle Fox from Michelle Fox Beauty and MichelleFoxOnline.com. And I'm excited about this topic because it's just kind of fun and I think it should be short and sweet. The way that self tanner was discovered was initially in 1920. Yes, I had to look this up. Okay. I did not just know this. In 1920, a chemist, scientist noticed that when DHA, okay, I have to look at what that's called. Oh, I didn't write it down. It's like, yeah, I'll have to come back. Dihydroxy acetone or something like that. I'll have to look that up. DHA. He noticed that when DHA was combined with acetone, that it caused his skin to turn orange. So that if he got it on his hands, that it turned orange. So he must have made note of that. Okay, 1920. Nobody did anything about it. 1950, there was a German physician who was using DHA for I don't know what, and she noticed the same thing, that it made her hands turn orange. And she thought, there's a market for this. And in 1960, she actually marketed and sold it as the first self tanning product. But at that time, they didn't know how to temper that really orange color. It had a very distinct odor and the very orangey color. So it has taken decades to work that out. But I can assure you that the tanners of today are much more natural, and most of them do not have a weird smell. So, a couple of quick things to keep in mind before you self tan is that it does not have SPF and you don't have a tan. When you use it, you don't really have a tan. So you might think, I've got a base tan, so I don't have to be very careful when I'm in the sun. But you don't, okay? It's pretend. So you still have to be as cautious in the sun as if you had no color at all. You follow me? So there is kind of that and I get it. You're dark, so you think, I got a tan, but you don't. So you have to be careful of that and be extra cautious to use sun protection. And you really want to exfoliate. But here's the new thing that I never thought about. Some exfoliating products have oil in it. So one of my favorite scrubs is from Tree Hut, I believe. And it's wonderful, but it has oil with the scrub. And if you use that and then use a self tanner, So, like, you exfoliate your knees, elbows, all that. If you do that with a product with oil, the oil is going to prevent the self tanner from penetrating your skin. So, you don't want to do that. So, you want to exfoliate, but you don't want to be using a product that has oil in it. I'd never thought of that before. Okay. The areas that are more likely to absorb too much. So, and if you've never done this before, I can't believe anybody hasn't, but if you've never done this before, areas that are thicker, where the skin is thicker, so your knees, your elbows, and um, I wonder if also areas that are more tender, because the pads of your hands tend to absorb it a lot too. The suggestion has always been to exfoliate those rough areas and then put on, the self tanner. Some things that I've done are to moisturize that, just the rough areas, not with an oil, but just with a traditional lotion, not a huge amount, okay? But in that same way that if you exfoliated with something that had oil, it would block the self tanner. When you're using a lotion just in the area where you don't want it to get too dark, it's going to do just that. It's going to prevent the self tanner from absorbing completely, which in that case would be a good thing. You get me? So you want to exfoliate all over. You want to make sure you're using an exfoliator that does not have oil. The really dry areas like elbows and knees, you want to put a little bit of moisturizer on those areas in particular, so that when you do apply the self tan, that it will not like absorb too much. It won't like get caught in that thicker skin. There are mitts, gloves available that you can use. But what I always did is I would put lotion on my hands first, like regular lotion, put that on all over. And then I would just wash the palms of my hands. And then I would take hand lotion again and put that all over, so that whatever thin amount of hand lotion or self tanner was still on my hands, that I just kind of thinned it out and spread it out, because I didn't want my, I used to, the directions say to wash your hands after. And so I would just wash them like crazy. So then I would be tan and then like totally white. My tan would end at my wrist and my hands would be totally white. So you don't want that. I think any mistake you can make with this, I've made. Okay. So you want to like have a smooth body. So you want to exfoliate. It helps to prevent it from like kind of really grabbing in those rough areas, to put some moisturizer on. You might want to use gloves to prevent it from getting all over your hands. But another thought would be to just wash the pads of your hands afterward, and then to apply hand lotion all over to sort of thin that out and spread that out. So those are some thoughts. One other thing that I really like is that you've got so many more options than you did back in 1990. There are self tanners that are specifically for your face. There are gradual, there are instant, so many options. And then there are even different shades of brown. And I don't know that they necessarily promote that, but I have noticed that. Like, there are some that are more, of a almost like a cool brown versus an orangey tan. So that's something that you have to kind of play with to figure out on your own. And also, you've got lotion and spray and foam and towelettes. So there's just so much to choose from. I really like anything that I don't have to spend a lot of time rubbing in. So I'm more into like sprays and foams and that sort of thing. But it is really neat, especially for a special occasion, to do that if you want to have a little bit of color for your skin. And I know that there was one other little tidbit I wanted to share. Oh, yeah. And that is that, once you put it on, it takes a while. So you're putting it on, well, first you're exfoliating, you're moisturizing, you're putting it on, you're washing it off your hands, and then you feel like, okay, I'm done. But you're not done, okay? Because then the chemical process has to happen. There's like a dry down time, and that's when it's doing its thing and it's making your skin change color. And if you right away do something to interrupt that process, you're not going to have the same results. So That can include a lot of things like sweating. So you don't want to put it on and then right away work out. I've done that. You don't want to take a shower too soon. You don't even want to go to bed right away because it could rub off in your sheets and you could have areas that are bare. So think that through. You want to give yourself time to just let that set and do its thing as it dries down. And there should be an amount of time listed on the instructions. It takes 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. I mean, it's not going to be a crazy long time. And I like to wait and take my shower like the next day. So I will typically, apply it at nighttime, wait a while before I go to bed and then shower the next day so that it doesn't smell funky all day, because there is a little bit of I mean, it's not fragrance free, let's just say that. Or odor free. There's something there that I can usually smell that I'm like, I'm not really a fan, but it's worth it because you can get that nice brown color. And that right there is a funny statement uh because I'm a child of the 70s and 80s, tan was the thing. And we all think in terms of, the healthy tan, or how, oh my gosh, you got such a beautiful tan. But I'm sure the next generation, and definitely two generations down, are going to change their thinking in that, because really a tan is damaged skin, right? So things will be shifting in that vein. But for those of you like me that still think of a tan as a positive thing, self tan is the way to go, because then you don't have to worry about the sun damage, either skin cancer concerns or the aging effects. So that's what I know about self tanner. Thought I would share. I put some recommended products in my blog. And of course, as always, I will have a freebie for you there. So make sure that you're not only watching the video, but you go to the blog and read through that, click on all the links, and get all of the fun free stuff. So thanks for watching. And next week, I'm coming back with a summer bronze makeup look. So that will be fun. We haven't done makeup on our blog in a while. So I look forward to seeing you then.